In the R&B world of decades past, the spotlight was never free. We heard the sweet melodies, felt the heartbreak in every hit, and watched the glittering parade of fame. But behind the curtain, there was a completely different story, one carved in darkness, pressure, and sacrifice. In an industry where power, ambition, and desperation collided, not every crown was earned through talent or luck. Sometimes, just getting your voice on the radio or seeing your name rise on the charts came with a price no one ever talks about. And the black women of R&B who are no longer with us, the voices you once loved, carried tragedies hidden in plain sight, stories the world never bothered to look for. What you're about to discover in this video will shock you and change the way you remember them forever. Esther Phillips, the R&B angel caught between heaven and hell. Esther didn't just sing. She bled through every note. Her voice in the 1950s wasn't just recognizable, it was unmistakable. A smoky rasp that could turn any melody into the confession of a wounded soul. At just 15, she dominated the R&B charts, the youngest star the genre had ever crowned. But behind the bright lights was a darker world, one that took far more from her than fame ever gave back. Houston, 1949. Esther was still just a skinny black girl from the wrong side of town, schoolbooks in the morning, sneaking into dim, smoky clubs at night. When Johnny Otis, club owner, talent scout, kingmaker, heard her blow the roof off an amateur contest, he dragged her backstage like he'd discovered gold. She thought her life had changed. And it had, just not the way she dreamed. Because no ticket to fame is ever free. In a cramped dressing room that stank of sweat and cheap gin, Johnny told her, "You want to sing? Then you learn to give." And in that moment, the stage stopped being magic. It became the place where she traded away her childhood piece by piece. A year later in Los Angeles, the final thread of innocence snapped. Johnny marched her into Spivey Studios, where an older producer, the kind who controlled destinies with a signature, locked the control room door. Esther knew exactly what that meant. She walked in anyway. In return, they handed her a song, Double Crossing Blues. 1 day to record it. 9 weeks at #1. America celebrated her overnight. But behind the applause was a 15-year-old girl drowning in trauma she never asked for, numbing herself with heroin to silence the memory of hands that never let go. The years that followed were a slow collapse, a tug-of-war between her God-given gift and the demons fame introduced her to. Managers treated her like property. The needle became her escape. And the prodigy who once lit up every stage became a shadow flickering between addicts' despair and the spotlight's demands. In 1984, liver failure finally carried her home. A legendary voice silenced far too soon, not by lack of talent, but by wounds that fame only deepened, never healed. Esther Phillips should have echoed through eternity. Instead, she was buried beneath scars the world never bothered to see. Etta James wasn't just an R&B queen, she was a woman swallowed whole by sex, power, and dangerous promises. Her voice remains one of the greatest in American music history, a storm of agony, seduction, and soul-deep truth. When she sang, at last, the world melted. But behind that immortal moment was a price no artist should ever have to pay. She traded her childhood, her body, and pieces of her soul just to be heard. Her life was never soft or safe. In 1950, growing up in Los Angeles, young Etta endured years of abuse from her own stepfather. With no one to protect her, she ran, drifting through black neighborhoods, singing for tips in smoky bars just to survive. The crowds heard a voice that could split open heaven. Backstage, she was just a starving, exhausted girl fighting to stay alive. By 1954, she formed the Creolettes, hoping the group would be her escape. But the first time they landed a club gig, the owner handed her a brutal, sickening choice. Sing for the crowd, then serve him in the dark. That night, Etta walked on stage with the same powerful voice, but inside her, a wound opened that would never fully heal. Everything changed again in 1959 when she met Leonard Chess, the powerful head of Chess Records. Leonard promised to make her a star, and Etta, broken, desperate, and running out of options, believed him. Stardom came, but chained to torment. He demanded private visits to his office, intimacy traded for studio time. He even fed her heroin, whispering, "This'll make you sing sweeter, baby." And slowly she slipped into addiction. Then dependence. Then captivity. In 1960, at last exploded across America. The world crowned Etta James a legend. But behind that golden voice was a body wrecked by drugs, a mind drowning in trauma, and a woman standing on the thin line between brilliance and collapse. Her finances crumbled, rehab became a rotating door, and her freedom vanished long before her fame did. When Etta James passed in 2012, the world remembered the angelic voice. Few ever understood the truth. To deliver one masterpiece that would outlive her, Etta James sacrificed everything: her innocence, her strength, her peace, and almost her life. Big Maybelle, the blues queen who traded her body for a shot at glory, only to die forgotten. She wasn't just a singer, she was a force. A woman whose voice could shake the walls of any room, whose roar could drown out an entire band. She rose from singing in dusty backrooms and barn corners to becoming the crowned queen of the blues overnight with Gabon Blues. But that rise came with a cost no woman should ever have to pay. New York, 1952. Maybelle was broke, clutching a few dollars in her pocket as she belted her heart out in smoke-choked clubs. From the crowd stepped Fred Mendelssohn, the powerful head of OK Records, watching her with the cold assurance of a man who controlled destinies. He offered her a record deal, then ordered her to his private apartment. Maybelle knew exactly what that meant. With no better road ahead, she walked through that door and traded a piece of herself for a chance at the life she dreamed of. In that small room, she realized something brutal. A killer voice wasn't enough to break into the industry. Not for a black woman. Not in 1952. In 1953, she recorded Gabon Blues in a single explosive session. Her voice cracked with fire, anger, humiliation, and the hunger to rise above it all. The song skyrocketed to #1 on the R&B charts. But success only tightened Fred's grip. He demanded the affair continue, using her career as leverage. Every visit to his office came with new gifts, new promises, and the same cold stare that reminded her who held the reins. They marketed her as the sexy, big black woman, a caricature meant to entertain, not to respect. Behind the makeup sat a woman crumbling under the weight of it all. The drugs Fred supplied as boosts to help her sing better soon became chains. She spiraled, losing control of her money, her health, and eventually her career. As the spotlight dimmed, the gigs dried up. The world moved on. And Big Maybelle, once a powerhouse, was left with nothing but a battered suitcase and a voice worn down to a rasp. She died in poverty at 47, carrying the heartbreak of a woman who touched glory for a moment, only to be shoved off its edge. A legend devoured by the very fame she fought for. A queen who deserved more. Tina Turner, the girl the world tried to break, who climbed out of hell and rose higher than anyone ever imagined. Tina Turner isn't just a music icon. She is the definition of survival wrapped in fire. With a voice that cracked open the sky and a stage presence that hit like a lightning strike, she ruled global music as the undisputed queen of rock and soul. But behind the applause, beyond the glittering stages and blinding spotlights, lived a story so dark most people never dared to look at it. Before she was Tina Turner, she was Anna Mae Bullock, a 16-year-old girl in 1956 St. Louis, desperate to escape the noise in her home and chase a dream that felt bigger than her life. One night, she slipped into Club Manhattan, where music drowned out every other sound. Ike Turner, the local music kingpin, noticed the shy girl with the bold voice and pulled her on stage. Her first note froze the entire room. It should have been the beginning of a beautiful dream. Instead, it became a nightmare. That same night, Ike drove her away and raped her in the car. "You want fame? Then you belong to me." With those words, he chained her into years of violence, control, and emotional torture. From 1957 to 1960, Ike rebuilt her like a possession, gave her the name Tina Turner, forced her into a record deal, and created the Ike and Tina Turner Revue. On stage, she was electric, a goddess in motion. Offstage, she was trapped in a tiny house, surviving beatings, threats, and forced sex. Fans saw the dazzling smile and the shaking fringe dresses, but never the bruises hidden beneath them. Every performance was a miracle delivered by a woman who was breaking more every night. In 1960, A Fool in Love became a hit and shot them into stardom. The world saw success. Tina lived imprisonment. If she missed a step, Ike smashed pills into her face. If she spoke softly, he slammed her head against a wall. More than once, she walked on stage bleeding, pretending the split on her lip was part of the show. By 1968, she tried to end the nightmare with sleeping pills. She woke up in a hospital, and Ike dragged her straight back into the cage called home. Then came 1976. After 2 decades of abuse, humiliation, and survival by instinct alone, Tina finally ran into the night. With 36 cents in her pocket and 4 children she refused to leave behind. No name, no money, no safety. Just a heartbeat and a will stronger than steel. And from nothing, she built an empire. Tina Turner didn't just make a comeback, she rose into legend. She became larger, fiercer, freer than ever before. A woman whose roar could shake continents. Tina Turner isn't simply a superstar. She is living proof that even when the world throws you into the deepest hell, you can climb out, stand tall, and make the whole world listen. Aretha Franklin, the untouchable queen of soul. A woman whose voice could shake America to its knees with respect, think, and natural woman. She stood at the peak of music, the fire of the feminist movement, and the heartbeat of an entire generation. But behind that blinding crown was a life carved by pain, silence, and the kind of wounds no spotlight could ever heal. Detroit, 1956. Aretha was just 14, trailing behind her father, the famous pastor C.L. Franklin, on the gospel circuit. On stage, she was a miracle, an angel wrapped in a child's body. But when the lights dimmed, the world got darker. Her father and the men around him saw her not as a daughter or a prodigy, but as currency. They pushed her toward powerful industry men, whispering, "This is how you get more stage time." She said nothing, because she knew one wrong word could silence her forever. Then came 1960. Aretha married Ted White, a man she believed would protect her. Instead, he became another cage. As her manager, he claimed everything: her money, her decisions, even her body. He beat her, belittled her, and embarrassed her in rooms full of strangers. Under the glamorous gowns and flawless makeup, Aretha carried bruises like hidden tattoos. And every smile she gave the world was a lie she was forced to wear. By 1967, she signed with Atlantic Records. Jerry Wexler, the producer who was supposed to save her, only repeated the same pattern. After recording I Never Loved a Man at Muscle Shoals, he summoned her to his hotel room. A quiet threat disguised as an offer: cooperate and you'll get the respect you deserve. That night, Aretha cried until her voice cracked. But the next morning, she stood at the microphone and sang through the shame, because survival demanded silence. And here's the cruelest twist. The very song that crowned her the Queen of Soul, the feminist anthem that shook the world, Respect, was born from a woman who spent years being denied the basic respect every human deserves. In 1969, she finally cut Ted loose, truly free after years of separation. Her career rose higher than ever. The world worshipped her. But behind the throne, Aretha often drowned in loneliness, whiskey, and the memories she tried to bury. Most people hear respect as a call for women's rights. But Aretha knew the truth better than anyone. It was the cry of a woman who had been stripped of every right, yet still stood tall enough to demand her name be said with honor. Victoria Spivey, the woman who crawled through fire and still sang louder than the world. Victoria Spivey was one of the most electrifying voices of early blues. Fierce, magnetic, and dripping with raw emotion, she could make a whole juke joint tremble with a single note. Her breakout hit, Black Snake Blues, didn't just launch her career, it crowned her as a defining force of Midwest blues. But the road to that glory was carved from pain. In 1926, at just 20 years old, Victoria was singing her heart out in the smoky, whiskey-soaked juke joints of St. Louis. That's where Mayo Williams, Paramount Records' powerful talent scout, discovered her and rushed her to Chicago with the promise of a recording contract. What happened next was a nightmare hidden behind a hit record. Inside the Paramount office, Victoria was pinned down on a desk and violated. Terrified this was her only chance to escape poverty, she let the assault happen, then walked into the studio and recorded Black Snake Blues, a song that would echo across a generation. The record was a smash. But Victoria knew the price she had paid. Over the next 3 years, she was forced into the same degrading bargains, not just with Mayo but with a revolving door of label men who knew her desperation. Every new song required another piece of her dignity. She became a rising star to the public, but inside, she was breaking. Still, she kept recording. More than 30 tracks. More than 30 wounds. By 1929, the humiliation had eaten through her spirit. She realized staying meant dying slowly in chains. So she did something almost no black woman in music had dared to do. She founded her own label, Spivey Records. She seized her copyrights, released music on her own terms, rebuilt her life with the freedom she had been denied. It was a rebellion, a resurrection. Victoria lived to be 70, leaving behind a legacy that shaped generations of blues singers. And Black Snake Blues still cuts deep, its pain, its power, and its truth echoing long after the wounds faded. Victoria Spivey stands as the woman who walked through tragedy, broke her chains, and forged an empire from the very scars meant to destroy her. A reminder that even when pushed into the darkest abyss, she could rise, singing louder than ever. Ruth Brown, the woman whose voice built Atlantic Records with nothing but fire, flesh, and sheer will. In the 1950s, she wasn't just another singer. She was the heartbeat of R&B, the queen whose volcanic voice delivered hit after hit and turned a small label into a global powerhouse. They called Atlantic the house that Ruth built, and they weren't lying. But behind the glitter of spotlights and #1 records lived a nightmare the world never saw. Detroit, 1948. Ruth was just 20, lying in a hospital bed after a brutal car crash. Her body survived, but her spirit was barely holding on. Then came Ahmet Ertegun, the powerful founder of Atlantic. He brought a contract full of promise, and a demand that no young woman should ever face. There, in her hospital room, he made it clear, cooperate, or vanish from the music world before she ever began. Trapped, terrified, and desperate for her dream, Ruth gave in. One horrifying night in that hospital bed led to her first recording session. And from 1949 to 1955, Ruth Brown lived a life split in two, thunderous on the mic, shattered behind closed doors. Week after week, she endured violations from the very men profiting off her voice. Every studio door she opened carried the scent of fear and exhaustion. And yet, her voice never cracked. Her power never dimmed. In those tortured years, she delivered more than 10 #1 R&B hits, shaping the sound of a generation and turning Atlantic into a music empire. But while she made millions for the label, Ruth herself was left with pennies, robbed, controlled, and denied her own future. But Ruth Brown was not a woman who broke. She was a woman who rose. In 1987, after decades of silence, she dragged Atlantic Records into court and fought like hell for what they owed her, and won. She reclaimed nearly $1.3 million in unpaid royalties and forced the industry to confront the abuse it had buried. Her triumph was a roar, not a whisper. Ruth Brown survived the kind of trauma that would have destroyed most. She stood on stages across America, electrifying crowds, turning her pain into power, and in 1993, she earned her rightful place in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Her life wasn't just music. It was a monument built from agony, courage, and an unbreakable soul. A reminder that even in the darkest shadows, legends can rise, and Ruth Brown rose higher than anyone ever expected. Gladys Bentley, the blues titan who paid for fame with her own body, was one of the boldest, most untamable voices of the Harlem Renaissance. At 250 pounds, with her hair clipped close and a tuxedo hugging her frame, she stormed onto stages like a force of nature. Her voice growled, her lyrics cut deep, and her presence dared anyone to look away. She was freedom, fire, and rebellion wrapped into one woman. But behind that swagger, her rise wasn't the glamorous climb fans imagined. In 1925, at just 18, Gladys stepped into Harlem's notorious buffet flats, rooms pulsing with danger, temptation, and opportunity. To secure her dream spot as the headliner at the Ubangi Club, owner Harry Hansberry demanded the unthinkable. Night after night, she was coerced into his bed. Sometimes not alone. Sometimes surrounded by powerful white men who treated her body like part of the entertainment. Every performance earned applause, every after-hours encounter carved another wound she couldn't show. By 1930-31, when she finally signed with OK Records, the exploitation only sharpened. Producers dangled studio time in exchange for closeness, and Gladys paid with pieces of herself. She walked into the booth drained, trembling, but determined. And the moment the mic lit up, she roared. Track after track, she stamped her name across Harlem and beyond. She became a legend, but a legend built on scars no one ever acknowledged. Then came the 1950s. America tightened its moral grip, and the world that once celebrated her queerness now demanded she hide it. In 1952, she was pressured into marrying a man just to survive the backlash. The tuxedos were folded away. The spotlight dimmed. She retreated into a small apartment, living quietly, privately, with regret shadowing her once unstoppable fire. Gladys Bentley died of the flu in 1960, leaving behind a legacy blazing with courage and defiance, but also stained with the silent sacrifices that shaped her journey. Her story is a reminder that sometimes the brightest performers carry the darkest, most unspoken battles, and that the price of brilliance is often paid long before the world ever hears the music. Dinah Washington, the blues voice who paid the highest price to wear the R&B crown. She wasn't just a singer of the 1940s and 50s, she was a force of nature. With a voice rich, aching, and unmistakably hers, Dinah delivered 27 R&B chart toppers, including the timeless What a Difference a Day Makes, a record that pushed her straight into the pop spotlight. On stage, she was unstoppable. Off stage, she lived under a grip so tight it nearly broke her. Back in 1943, Dinah, still Ruth Jones then, was singing with Lionel Hampton's band in Chicago when manager Joe Glazer took interest. What followed wasn't opportunity, but exploitation. At the Palmer House Hotel, he demanded intimacy in exchange for solo spots on tour. She was young, talented, and trapped. And to keep the career she fought for, she endured it, not once, but repeatedly for 3 long years. Night after night, her voice soared with power and joy. But behind closed hotel room doors, she was sacrificing pieces of herself in silence. By 1950, after signing with Mercury Records in New York, the pressure only deepened. The label boss demanded closeness to seal business deals. They renamed her Dinah Washington, polished her into a marketable star, and tightened their control over every step she took. From 1953 to 1959, Dinah was expected to entertain Joe Glazer and influential DJs just to guarantee radio play. To the public, she was glamorous. In private, she was exhausted, manipulated, and collapsing under the weight of fame. Her success was staggering, hit after hit, sold-out shows, magazine covers. But behind it stood a woman running on diet pills, surviving sleepless nights, and battling a loneliness she could never sing away. She earned the title Queen of the Blues, but it came with chains no one could see. In 1963, Dinah Washington died from an overdose, ending a life both brilliant and unbearably tragic. Her story remains a harsh reminder. In the world of show business, the brighter the star burns, the more that star is forced to give. Sometimes body, sometimes soul, and sometimes everything. Billie Holiday, the woman who climbed the tallest peaks of jazz with nothing but her voice, her pain, and her will to survive. She wasn't just a great vocalist. She was a force of nature. Every note she sang felt bruised, aching, soaked in heartbreak and hunger for freedom. With Strange Fruit, she didn't just make music, she declared war on injustice. She became the voice of the wounded, the silenced, and the terrified. But behind that haunting beauty lived a life shaped by cruelty, exploitation, and a world that never gave her a chance to simply be a girl. In 1928, when she was only 13 years old, Billie's mother pushed her into a brothel in Baltimore. $5 a service, a fortune to a child, and a lifetime scar she could never erase. Before she even became a woman, Billie had already learned the price of flesh. She was arrested for prostitution and locked away in reform school for 3 months, treated like a criminal when she was only a victim. By 1933, at barely 18, she fled to Harlem hoping to outrun the shadows. But Harlem had its own wolves. Singing in a dimly lit club, she caught the attention of Columbia talent scout John Hammond. Instead of offering her a fair contract, he cornered her in his apartment and forced himself on her, trading her body for the promise of a career. It was a betrayal that would follow her for a lifetime. Between 1935 and 1939, Billie kept climbing the ladder of fame, but every rung came at a cost. Producers, club owners, and powerful men demanded her compliance before they offered her a stage. She stood beneath bright spotlights, but she walked through darkness to get there. Every performance was a battle, the voice of a legend hiding the wounds of a young girl who never got to heal. Then came 1939. Strange Fruit. A song so fearless, so explosive, it was banned from radio, but it changed America forever. It was Billie's cry, Billie's rage, Billie's truth carved into melody. Fame came roaring after, but so did surveillance, harassment, and the iron grip of the FBI. Drowning in trauma, trapped in a world that both worshipped and destroyed her, Billie turned to heroin, not for pleasure, but for quiet. For escape. For a moment where she didn't have to feel. In 1947, the arrests began. Courtrooms, cold cells, humiliation, and headlines that painted her as the villain in her own tragedy. Billie Holiday died in 1959, lying alone in a hospital bed, with just 70 cents to her name. Her body frail, her spirit exhausted. The world got her music, but she paid with her life. Billie didn't just burn bright. She burned herself up to give us a sound no one could imitate, a courage no one could borrow, and a story too painful to forget. To this day, Billie Holiday's life echoes as a brutal reminder. In show business, a voice can become a weapon, but the cost of wielding it can destroy the soul behind it. LaVern Baker was the R&B siren who climbed to glory through fire. Her voice was bold, magnetic, and impossible to ignore. One note from her could pull a crowd in like a rising storm. Hits like Tweedledee shoved her from smoky Chicago clubs onto the world stage, turning her into a symbol of female power long before anyone dared to say those words out loud. But behind the spotlight was a brutal truth. Every step upward came with a price carved from her own flesh. In 1950, at just 21, singing night after night in tiny Chicago lounges, LaVern didn't know the traps waiting for her. Then Atlantic Records' Herb Abramson walked in, carrying a record contract wrapped around a nightmare. He demanded sex in exchange for her future. And the moment she chose the path to fame, the industry shoved her into a world where her body was treated like currency. To get her records played, she was pushed into private meetings with DJs and distributors, hotel rooms, motels, studios, each week repeating the same quiet horror, all so Tweedledee could echo across America. And when the song finally soared to #1, her joy was stolen almost instantly. A white singer, Georgia Gibbs, copied it, outsold her, and walked away with the credit the world still remembers. Even at her peak, LaVern wasn't free. Labels forced her into skin-tight outfits, molding her image into something she never asked to be, selling the fantasy while suffocating the woman underneath. By 1969, after nearly 20 years of fighting a system that chewed up black women and called it business, she walked away. She left fame behind, moved to a military base in the Philippines, and spent 2 quiet decades reclaiming the one thing the industry never gave her: peace. LaVern Baker died in 1997, but her story still burns. She was a powerhouse whose voice shook the world, yet whose body and spirit were scarred by an industry built on exploitation. Her legacy stands as a reminder of the savage price black female artists paid, singing loud enough for the world to hear, even when no one bothered to listen to their pain. Christine Kittrell, the Nashville voice who sang her way through danger and survived the Chitlin circuit with nothing but grit, talent, and the painful silence she was forced to carry. Christine wasn't a household name, but in the smoky clubs of the South, her voice could stop men mid-drink. She recorded Sittin' Here Drinking and a handful of regional hits that earned her love across Nashville, but fame never arrived the way it should have. Instead, her career became a battlefield, one she fought mostly alone. In 1951, Christine stepped fully into professional music, grinding through the Chitlin circuit, where black artists lived on pennies, dodged racism, and endured impossible pressure. Tennessee Records producer Ted Jarrett noticed her spark, but the opportunity came with chains. He demanded her body in exchange for recording Sittin' Here Drinking. Christine knew the truth. If she refused, her career would end before it even began. So she chose survival, and paid a lifelong price for it. Over the next 4 years, club owners repeated the pattern. If she wanted steady gigs, she had to cooperate. Some of her songs caught small waves across the South, but her talent never escaped Nashville's borders. Christine wrestled with exploitation behind closed doors while audiences only saw the powerful woman under the spotlight, not the woman fighting to keep her dignity in the dark. National stardom never came. Glory brushed past her, leaving only bruised memories and quiet regret. Eventually, Christine walked away from music completely, choosing a life of service as a nurse, a life far removed from the applause, but finally free from the shadows. Christine Kittrell died in 2001, her name nearly forgotten. But her story remains a stark reminder of the brutal toll the industry demanded from so many black artists. A brilliant voice, dimmed too soon, not by lack of talent, but by the cruel cost of survival in a world that never protected her. Ella Fitzgerald, the girl who rose from Harlem's shadows to become the first lady of song. Her voice shook the world for more than 50 years, gliding effortlessly from scat to swing, turning simple melodies into magic. But behind that flawless glow was a path littered with heartbreak, survival, and secrets she carried to her grave. In 1934, Ella wasn't a legend. She was a homeless teenager, wandering the streets of Harlem after her mother's death. She slept in parks, begged for food, and clung to music as her only escape. Her dreams felt impossibly far, until fate intervened. One night, Chick Webb, the famous bandleader, overheard her singing with a group of kids on the street. Impressed, he pushed her toward an audition at the Apollo. November 21, 1934, amateur night. It should have been the moment that saved her. And in some ways it was. But there was a darker cost behind the curtain. According to long-whispered rumors in Harlem, Ella was pressured into backstage favors to secure her shot on stage. She won first prize that night, launching a career that would define American jazz, but at a price she never spoke of. From 1935 to 1938, Ella fought through unimaginable pressure to keep her spot as lead singer. She faced relentless exploitation at the hands of Chick Webb and powerful men connected to the Savoy Ballroom. She endured it silently, determined not to lose the only chance she'd ever been given. And yet, through the pain, she delivered brilliance. In 1938, she recorded A Tisket, A Tasket, a runaway hit that shot to #1 and cemented her place in music history. When Chick Webb died in 1939, Ella stepped in as the band's leader, a young black woman guiding a major swing orchestra in an era when the world said she couldn't. Her talent, strength, and grace made her unstoppable. But her private life stayed locked away. Ella never spoke publicly about the exploitation she endured. She built a pristine public image, hiding wounds that never healed. Even as she became a global icon, those early years of trading her body for survival haunted her. Ella Fitzgerald died in 1996, leaving behind a towering musical legacy and a quiet reminder of the brutal, unspoken realities of 1930s show business. Her voice soared. Her spirit survived. But the world never truly knew the battles she won before she ever stepped on stage. Fay Adams, the woman whose voice could soar higher than the lights above the stage, and whose sacrifices were buried deeper than the world ever knew. Before her record-breaking hit Shake a Hand dominated the R&B charts for 10 straight weeks, Fay was just a young woman singing in New York's churches and smoky basement clubs, trying to carve out a place for herself. But success came with a price no one should ever have to pay. In 1952, when she began headlining at Rudy's Tavern, one of the most famous black clubs of its time, Fay endured weekly coercion from the club owner. Every night she stepped on stage with a forced smile, carrying wounds that never showed under the spotlight. Each compromise tore at her spirit, but it kept the microphone in her hands and her dream alive. Then came 1953. Atlantic Records executive Ahmet Ertegun saw her perform and gave her the chance of a lifetime, but under cruel conditions. Fay traded her dignity for a contract, sealing a silent deal that haunted her for years. She recorded Shake a Hand with that weight on her heart, yet her voice lifted the song to #1 for 10 unforgettable weeks. Behind the radio triumphs, however, the pressure only grew. Month after month, she was pushed to repeat the same painful sacrifices just to stay relevant, to keep her songs spinning, to hold her place in a world built on power and silence. Her star burned bright for 2 short years before fading under the harsh machinery of show business. Seeking peace, Fay left R&B and returned to gospel, the only place where she could sing without fear. She stepped away from crowds, away from cameras, and quietly carried the tragedies no one ever asked about. Fay Adams died in 1983, leaving behind a sky-high voice and a story the world never fully heard. Most people remember her for one golden hit. But behind that hit were nights soaked in tears, secrets swallowed whole, and a woman who paid everything for her moment to shine. Mabel King was a gospel powerhouse who traded the church pews for the blinding heat of the spotlight and paid a price the world never saw. She began her career with the Clare Award Singers, her voice rich, thunderous, and soaked in soul. In Harlem, she rose fast, a young woman whose technique, passion, and stage presence made crowds lean forward just to feel her energy. She never scored a major R&B hit, but she carved out her own place in entertainment as Mabel "Mama" Thomas on What's Happening, a role that turned her into a beloved TV icon. But behind the laughter and the applause was a story so painful most fans still don't know it. Back in 1950, at just 18, Mabel was singing gospel in Harlem, dreaming of a solo career. Her manager saw a star waiting to break out, but the path wasn't paved with opportunity, it was paved with trauma. At home, she faced forced intimacy that crushed her spirit. Every solo performance became less of a triumph and more of a silent battle. She walked on stage glowing, but only after surviving the emotional toll demanded of her behind closed doors. From 1950 to 1952, she endured those sacrifices just to secure her spotlight moments the crowd believed were effortless. By 1953, she stepped into the world of R&B, hoping for a fresh start. Instead, she faced a new kind of pressure. Small-time club owners and contract gatekeepers pushed her into short-term deals and single-cut recordings. Each session felt like she was bargaining away a piece of herself for the chance to be heard. And even worse, those songs went nowhere. She gave everything. The industry gave nothing back. Her R&B dreams stalled, and eventually, she walked away from professional music altogether. But fate had one last twist. Television found her. As Mama Thomas, she rediscovered laughter, love, and a new kind of spotlight, one that didn't demand her pain as payment. Fans adored her warmth, her timing, her unmistakable voice. Yet behind that smile lived the shadow of a young woman who fought battles in silence and who never received the musical glory she deserved. Mabel King passed away in 1999 from diabetes, leaving behind not just an actress, but a survivor, a woman who carried her wounds, fought in the dark, and still found her way into America's heart. What you've heard today is only a fraction of the truth. These legends lived through storms we'll never fully understand. Now I want to hear from you. What do you think of their stories? Their struggles? Their strength? Drop your thoughts in the comments, and don't forget to hit subscribe. Turn on your notifications, because our next videos dive deep into the hidden corners of music history, the places the spotlight never cared to shine.